Lifestyle Pirates with Big J and Adriano.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lifestyle Pirates. Today on Lifestyle Pirates, we have David Giammetta, owner, founder, designer of Fuoriserie. So just to let you know, it's about watches. So today's going to be very time-consuming, ladies and gentlemen. so David, tell us.
That was a stroke of genius.
I love it. Oh, this is going to be horrible. I love it.
Strap in.
Hang on. Give me a second.
Fantastic stuff.
Mate, thank you for introducing David because I wouldn't have got any of those names right.
No worries, mate. David, welcome, mate. So tell us, Fuoriserie, what is it?
Basically, it's a watch made out of car parts.
Mm-hmm.
So Fuoriserie means bespoke in Italian, mechanically bespoke, kind of a slang word.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a passion project of mine that basically, it took me 2 years to get off the ground, and I'm actually wearing one right now. So
Nice.
that's this one's actually made out of parts of a wrecked Aston Martin.
Nice.
And as you can see on the media wall behind us, there's a red version which is made out of parts from a Ferrari 348.
Nice.
So I guess that's it in a nutshell.
So tell me, do you use only wrecked cars or?
Yeah, primarily wrecked cars.
Thank God.
Because at the end of the day,
Otherwise, if I see any Ferraris with doors missing off them and a new watch line coming out, I know where it's come from, mate.
Well, I did notice one of the cars down on Harris Street had a few little kind of square bits cut out of it.
Why do you
Was it
think?
mine?
Why do you think I have roof racks?
Yeah, nice. So when did you come up with this concept?
Look, I mean, I've been upcycling stuff from when I was a kid. I've been tinkering with cars, and I guess one of the things with upcycling is that you learn to appreciate the objects that are neglected and that are forgotten and are disregarded. They're just trash, but there's still value in them because at one stage, the door or a bonnet was actually part of a $500,000 $1 million car.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's crashed, we just deem it as worthless. But that couldn't be further from the truth. So, I basically had this really crazy idea, and first when I sort of started telling people, they were like, "Oh, that's crazy! You'll never be able to make that because the dial thickness of a watch is like paper thin, and obviously a car panel is about 200 times thicker than your average dial." So. Had to be all re-engineered to basically make this concept work. And so many people told me, couldn't be done, but I don't take no for an answer.
Brilliant.
So here we are.
So I've got to ask on a technical aspect only because I'm fascinated. So it's so much thicker. It's going to be an extremely good pun. So what did you have to do? Did you have to make the shaft bigger?
Yeah, basically all of the internals have had to be modified. And the casing had to be modified as well. But I think the real trick there was that because of the thickness, I didn't want the casing to be too big.
Yeah.
So then a lot of internal trickery had to be done.
A lot of tight packaging.
Yeah.
Like Formula One.
Exactly.
Almost, yeah.
Exactly.
So when you get those panels to make the watch face or something like that, do you beauty it up, or do you like to have the patina of the original car on it? Are all watches different as well?
All watches are different,
and
the patina remains the same. So, let's say, for example, the 348 that I got this watch was made from, it was actually sandwiched. So the guy couldn't pull up in time, bang, straight into the back of a truck, and then the car behind him couldn't pull up in time. So the car was sandwiched, and the only thing that was really salvageable was the doors.
Yeah.
But it had like 100,000 Ks, which for an old Ferrari is quite a lot.
Yeah.
Considering a lot of people don't drive them.
Yeah, that's true.
It had the road wear of a well-driven Ferrari, in my opinion. The guy was thrashing it the way it should have been driven.
Result.
And unfortunately, he just couldn't pull up in time. But here we are. And I think the beautiful thing for me is taking that basically disregarded car, which was valuable at one stage and then, became wrecked, and being able to share that with people. And now they value it, and it's people all over the world. I've sold watches to Japan, Kuwait, Netherlands, Italy, every country you can think of. Every time I get a new country, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. It's a bit of romance to that as well, because it's like the car lives on.
Yeah.
You're given that opportunity for that thing to be rehashed into something else,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
yeah.
Why watches?
Well, look, I mean, I've always been into cars, right? And I think when I was really young, like motorsport and going to the track, my dad hated cars, but he loved that I loved. He loved to nurture the passion of whatever you're into, right? So he'd always take me out to the track, and everything's about times. Everyone's like, "Oh, I want to go faster." Whether you're going Eastern Creek or whether you're doing lap times, everyone's always pushing for that next second, next second, next second. So from when I was young, everything was sort of ingrained with time and fast, and everyone wanted to go faster. 10 seconds was a fast time for a drag car. Now it's 7 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everyone's just pushing for more. And I think so that correlation between watches and cars has always been there, whether we choose to admit it or not. And even if you look at motorsport icons, like you got, James Dean, who, with his 356 and his affiliations with Tag. And then you've got like any icon that you can think of, Steve McQueen.
Even today, like you got Hamilton, IWC.
Yeah.
Like they all bear their watch companies. It's really
Well, I remember one stage I wanted to be a Formula One driver because as soon as they get out of the car, they get given a watch. I thought, well, I'll have a bit of that. Can't drive, can't drive for toffee, but
But you'll take a watch.
Yeah,
so
I'll
why
take
do
a watch.
watches make you tick?
This is going to be a long hour.
So tell us about the design philosophy behind it.
Okay, so it's probably going to be a bit hard to see from over there and for those who are just listening. But basically, I wanted to incorporate a lot of car elements, design attributes, cars that I really was inspired by, but didn't want to make the design tacky. And that's a really hard thing to get right, that balance of subtlety, but still retaining like cool elements of other things that were not designed to be part of it. So the lugs on the watch are actually from a 40s Cadillac. So they're the overriders, little chrome overriders. And that's sort of that real Art Deco kind of vibe to it. The strap is actually made it's inspired by a Momo Prototipo steering wheel. So the old rally steering wheels. I mean, every P-plater in my era, I'm 33, had one of those strapped.
Guilty.
Guilty. We're all guilty, right?
Guilty.
We're all guilty.
Who needs an airbag?
Yeah, airbag. No, man,
exactly.
that's the dash pad.
Bend.
So yeah, and then the dial face is actually inspired by a Jaeger tacho or speedometer. So
The most gorgeous tacos ever made, by the way.
I agree. So those elements sort of all came together to create the watch that you see here today. And my ethos was, look, I'm a car guy. Being a kid, didn't come from a wealthy family, so I always wanted like nice cars. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But you can't always afford one, and what you want and what you can get are always not the same. So my goal for this was to be able to give everyone who's ever had a dream to own a really nice car, a piece of a car.
Yeah.
At an affordable price. I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not. It's actually just my ethos.
No, that's your why. That's
You're
perfect.
a salesperson, so is that a sales pitch?
Well, it was, but that's what people were going to buy into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're pulling on the emotional heartstrings there about the car side of things. But looking at the website before you came on, what do they retail at? $450?
$450, yeah.
So they're,
And that's Australian dollars,
That's achievable.
so,
That's attainable.
Yeah.
Whereas you talk about your Tag Monaco, your Monza, some of your other brands. You're talking a few grand and upwards.
And I must admit, it's a very comfortable watch. I've got one. Thank you. It's great.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're a customer.
Thank you. So tell us, how big is your team?
It's me basically.
So we're sitting here with the whole team.
Yep, you were sitting here with the whole crew. The
Lovely.
whole crew. I'm the
Well, no
market.
wonder everyone told you you're mad. Far out.
Yeah. So look, there's a lot of people who've helped me along the way. I wouldn't have been able to achieve everything
of course.
without talented photographers, talented friends who've given me amounts of advice and feedback, and people that helped me bring the concepts to life. My dad was a massive one. He helped me sketch everything and get all the schematics right and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't draw stick figures to save my life. So, without him, this wouldn't be a reality.
Yeah.
And the people that actually helped me actually bring the concept to real life.
Yeah.
So we took those sketches, we put them into CAD, and then basically 3D printed the first prototype.
Yeah.
I took apart 1 million different watches, trying to fit the mechanisms in to try and make a prototype myself, because no one would make a prototype for me. I think I destroyed 10 or 15 watches trying to do that.
Yeah.
And then finally got something that fit, and then started shopping around and going, well, you told me it couldn't be done, but here's a prototype of a plastic, make it into a reality. So that's it really. But yeah.
So question, because we get a lot of feedback from people that listen to the show that get comfort, inspiration, some kind of solace around hearing people's journeys, their stories, and how they've done things. And that could be around the fitness. It could be starting a business. We had a friend of ours who talks about a lot of his learnings in the entrepreneurial journey last week. Talk us through step by step how you came about it. You said it's been 2 years in the making.
Yeah.
Let's go day one.
Day one, I had the idea, and then I didn't really know anything about watchmaking when I first started, but I knew I needed some talented watchmakers, and I was very passionate about trying to produce things here in Australia. But the thing I realized from trying to do that is there's not really a great level of support for people to actually produce things locally. We don't necessarily have the manufacturing backing here. We did maybe in the 80s, but I think over time things have progressed away from that. And that's a big shame, because there are a lot of talented people here, and they talk about sustainable economies and whatever. Well, to have a sustainable economy, you actually need to have exports.
Yeah.
But our exports are just sort of our, iron ore and,
Education
and maybe some meat trade, right?
Yeah.
Well, wine and meat
Until
recently.
So I think it'd be nice to see that to return, but without naming names, I did shop around and try to get things produced here locally, but the cost of production, even for a prototype, was just phenomenal, like out of this world. I wouldn't have been able to turn a profit, let alone break even. So crunching the numbers from an entrepreneurial side, it would have been a passion project. And as much as this is a passion project for me, it's still a business. And I have to look at the commercial side of things as well as the altruistic side. So yeah, sort of started shopping locally. And like I just sort of alluded to before, I had to produce a prototype myself to be able to bring this to life, to even get a concept to ship to factories overseas, to be able to get them to make it, because the amount of R&D involved in creating something like this, again, the costs just outweigh, I suppose, their time and effort and what they would get in return from you as a customer.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, sort of went from sketches to CAD design to 3D printing, and thank God for cheap 3D printing, right?
And how long is this? So what's this process? So we said day one, you've come up with
day
the
one.
idea.
Yeah, look, that's probably about. I probably spent about a good 6 months, I'd say, probably trying to shop around locally and trying to get someone in Australia to help me to make it at a reasonable cost. And then failing that, I thought, well, I'll just try and make something myself. So did that with a couple of help from a friend who's an architect who helped me sort of do all the CAD files and all that sort of stuff. And then created the 3D printing and the model, and then started shopping around and going to different factories. And that was a whole nother beast, because then you've got different time zones, you've got language barriers, you got to go to one producer just for the watch, then you got to go to another one for the band, then you've got to go to another one for the box, then you have to go to another one for the, every single component to bring it all together is a process, and it's the same step all over again from go to woe.
Yeah.
So to bring that all together, without going into every single step of the timeline, that was the 2 years. And then, launched in November 2019 at Collector Cars. And my girlfriend, Anita, she was massive support during that time at the launch, and has been a massive influence on the brand and ever since, really. So big shout out to my girlfriend for sticking by my crazy ideas.
Okay.
And then, here we are, same time actually. So it's almost an anniversary. So this is almost like an anniversary show. Woo!
Well,
Happy birthday.
it's very sad we're cheersing with water, but
Well, we can
I
change
thought
that.
this was vodka. I felt a bit of a hit.
It's grappa.
so did you in that 2-year period, when you were looking at, because actually you raised a point that I wasn't really aware of in terms of different factories for different parts of the journey, and then you've obviously got to source the car part.
Yeah.
Did you sit there and go, tell what this isn't going to work? How did you keep going through and keep plugging through?
Look, I think Adriano will back me up on this. Being a car guy, there's a lot of hurdles that you get when you tinker with old cars. Something doesn't work, then you can't find the part, then you need to fabricate something, you need to make something work. So I'm kind of grateful that I had that sort of experience from a young age with tinkering because it teaches you to not give up. And the other thing, growing up in an Italian household, my mum passed away when I was young. So my dad raised me and my brother on his own, no support. All my family's in Italy, aunties, uncles. So there was no good cop, bad cop. It was just bad cop, bad cop.
Right. Okay.
Southern Italian, love him to bits, strong man, big heart, but tough man, firm but fair.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that because every time I came home, I'm like, Papa, I want to give up at school. He'd be like, David, you don't give up. I didn't raise a quitter. That's it. Basta. Stop.
Basta. I love it.
Did he say it like that, or did he talk Italian?
No, he spoke Italian,
Right,
but
okay. It's a great accent.
Yeah.
It's translated.
Look, some people call me racist for putting the accent, but
No,
it's
but
more,
I think you're allowed to.
I'm allowed to. It's more fun. It's more
Yeah.
fun.
It's a bit like me taking the mick out of posh bombs. Fair enough. So you've kind of had your bits of doubt, but then you've got the momentum. You found it all.
Yeah.
When did you get your first? Did you have to travel overseas?
So I'm kind of grateful. I had a friend who lived in Hong Kong,
Yeah.
and this is why I said I couldn't have done it all on my own. I could have, maybe, potentially, but it would have taken a lot longer and a lot more investment from my side. So he was an expat living in Hong Kong, and I said, look, do you mind if you just sort of, spot check these factories for me? So they sent the samples over, but ethically, I wanted to make sure that the people and the places that I was working with were not basically just giant sweatshops.
Yeah.
And that's always a hard thing to do, right? Because, you don't know who you're working with. And so I was lucky he was able to sort of spot check, and I found a factory finally after 13 attempts. People who are actually really good. They seem to have a fair working conditions considering where it's coming from in China.
Yep.
The quality was good. So it ticked all the boxes for me and then.
So the 12 factories before the 13th, were they considered unethical?
Look, I think the quality wasn't right there. The quality wasn't there. There were a couple of questionable places, some potentially ghost factories because the address that they had were empty.
Yeah.
So whether they were waiting for me to put the big order in and then take off with my money or whatever. So there's just a few different things that you have to be aware when you are producing overseas.
Yeah.
So that's another rabbit hole. But basically, these were the most trustable, in my opinion, and leveraging off what my friend could tell me by going and visiting some of these places.
So how many different sources would you have to go to make, say, the watch that's on your wrist?
So as I said, like the watch itself, basically one factory, strap from another, and then box and packaging from another, and then the brochures, which you get, basically tell you how to use the watch and the story and all that sort of stuff. That's actually produced locally. So hey,
Yay! I was going to ask. So whereabouts are all of these factories?
Yeah, so they're all in China,
Yeah.
bar the printing side of things. But in saying that, as I said, I do want to make stuff in Australia, and actually, it's something I'm really excited about because this is a Lifestyle Pirates exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to start producing a line of wallets made from the interiors of vintage cars. They're not wrecked, but they've come in for retrim, so they're getting rejuvenated and they sort of still sit in that same ethos. So the first batch will be a Porsche with the Pasha interior. So it came from a 928, I think.
Yeah.
And then a 2000 GT
Nice.
interior as well.
Very special car.
Very special car, special car. And that's being sourced through McCarroll's Collectors.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah, coming from a person who does a lot of restorations, it's great to hear that. And I'm very excited for that wallet sort of thing as well, because it's so true. Like we reupholster so many different cars, right? And then that stuff just gets chucked to waste. And if you can rehash that into something special like a wallet, that is so cool.
yeah.
And I think I've got a lot of fabric for you as well.
Well, there's actually a brand, I don't know if you're aware of them, in Europe called Freitag. And they start off doing bags, like record bags, backpacks. But
Yeah.
they are made out of lorry tarpauling. The trim around the bag is the inner tube of a tire.
Yeah.
And then the strap is a seatbelt.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
I've
That's
got one.
pretty cool.
I'll show you
Is that
before
that
you-
big yellow thing you got?
Yeah, I'll show you before you go. But they now do loads of stuff. They've been around for a long, long time. But
Yeah.
when you mentioned about the upcycling, I think that's really important that we're starting to look at that stuff nowadays. I mean, we've just had the Black Friday sales where everybody's been going nuts and buying clothes. And there's obviously a big piece around, to your point, ethically sourcing good suppliers and stuff. But the wastage we have is just ridiculous. So it's good that you're looking at this upcycling and how you can keep things, not only just from the emotional side of things, but actually just from a sustainable.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think it's
really
a great
good.
idea.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the majority of the manufacturing is done in China, and you aim to bring it to Australia.
Yeah.
How far away is that? What hurdles, what obstacles do you have?
Look, I think it's really far away because, as I said, I think the obstacles that I faced before are still here.
Yeah, exactly.
I just can't produce something locally without importing the parts or whatever. Like even getting it assembled here, the margins would just completely go away. The only way that I could see it happening is if I sort of train myself to become a watchmaker. And then even then you'd still need to get all the components from overseas and then produce them here. But in saying that, I think the factory that I do work with, I'd like to continue working with them because they've done the right thing by me and they've produced a really, really good product. And I believe in relationship building and
course.
I don't, I like patriotic in the sense that I would like to see more production here and I think that's a bigger discussion. But I'm also loyal to my friends and family, and I consider this factory as a friend because it's a relationship, just like anything else. It's almost like having a best mate or a girlfriend or what have you. So I'd like to continue that relationship with them as well. So yeah, it's a perplexed thing because, as I said, patriotic to have a sustainable economy. It'd be nice to be able to produce things, and that's why I've sort of taken the double-pronged approach of creating the wallets here in Australia so I can have Australian-made products and I can be a part of that. But then also to continue to make the watches, obviously overseas, where the expertise is. In this case, for my particular product, not saying that we don't have the expertise here because we do, but it's that price point, trying to keep that price point affordable for car enthusiasts. Because again, if I had to produce it here, everything here, the price point would be a lot more. So
can you give us a sense of what that looks like? So I guess for people that maybe they're not across this, and I've had a little bit of exposure to it, but I mean, what are the kind of? I get the sense that margins and price points and products is all the same, but what we're talking just from a margin or markup, how much? So if you did it all here in Australia, the watch wouldn't be $450. What would it be?
I reckon it'd be in the thousands.
Right.
Yeah, because by the time you do all the, because you think of the average wage here and then you think about like there's just a number of factors that play into it, because, you'd have to get the casing made. So then that needs to get melted down and, you need to get all the tooling made up as well, because obviously the factory that I'm using has that tooling and I've paid to have that tooling and that's specific to their machinery. So you'd have to start from scratch again. And then, I mean, just at a sort of guesstimate now, especially with COVID and everything, all the businesses are affected. So they're trying to lick their wounds and chase their profits to where they were this time last year. It's hard to say, but I'd say it'd be in the thousands. Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
So you've got a background in marketing.
Yeah.
How has that helped you sort of develop this brand?
Well, look, my background actually stems before marketing into journalism, and I think, having interviewed it's kind of ironic being on the other side of it now. But having interviewed so many entrepreneurs and so many creatives, it's really inspiring to sort of see how they've done things. And then you think, oh, if I ever had the opportunity, and when you do have that opportunity to be able to do it, this is what I would do, or this is where I would go. So I think having that element and having that experience and exposure really helped me. But then the marketing side of things, definitely trying to reach the customer base and being a car enthusiast, I think it's sort of helped me because it's almost like I created the product for myself and people like me. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there that are like me that have a passion for cars and would love to own, an exotic car, whether it be a Ferrari, an Aston Martin, a Porsche, whatever, Lambo, or a Toyota 2000 GT, whatever the car. They'd love to own one, or at least a piece of it. So I think the marketing in itself did itself through the concept, and then the rest was just kind of a bit easier because it was the concept, I think, and the price point and the ethos that really marketed it for me. And I wouldn't have created something. I've always said, like, I would never create something unless I truly believed in it, or I'd never work somewhere unless I truly believed in the cause or what I was doing. So I think that ties into the marketing. Some people will disagree and be like, oh, you can market anything, and you can. But for me personally, anything that I would personally touch, it needs to meld with my morals, my values, my structure. Otherwise I can't do it. I can't sell you something if I don't believe in it, or can't pitch you something if I don't believe in it. Because if I don't believe in it, then
it's going to come through.
So do you remember any of the entrepreneurs that you spoke to who kind of stood out for you?
Well, one actually was Peter Friedman from Rode Microphones, which actually ironically we're using. He really stood out to me because he actually took manufacturing. I used him as an inspiration because he actually produced things in Australia. So he went to overseas to begin with, I believe in China as well, and then realized that he could do the same thing here for the same price and affordable. But this was a different time as well. I think there was, it was just a different game, and maybe it was contacts as well. Maybe that's where I fell down. I didn't have the watchmaking contacts or the manufacturing contacts locally. So maybe it could be affordable. And hey, if anyone wants to, help, give me a call. But so I think he was really inspirational because he took that concept of what he was doing with microphones and audio gear and brought it in-house into Australia. And he's still producing it, I believe, today from Australia.
From Silverwater.
Yeah,
it's funny looking at the back of the microphone where it says "Made in Australia."
There you go.
Yeah, it's awesome to see.
There you go. Exactly. So that's one person who really stood out to me as inspirational because he basically did what a lot of people said couldn't be done, including myself. So.
Even looking at his company now, it still amazes me that it's still all made in Australia. Having spoken to the guy recently, asking him if he was going to take any sort of manufacturing overseas, he goes, "No, fuck that. He wants to do everything here." And it's really good to hear that. And he's looking at expanding as well.
Phenomenal.
So his Podcaster Pro thing that we're talking on right now is absolutely taken off. So, he's building another place that's like 20,000 square meters to keep up with the demand. It's amazing. Great Aussie story, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a great Aussie story. And that's someone that, when I worked for News Corp and interviewed him, did a feature on actually manufacturing in Australia. Yeah. It's actually this topic because it was something I was really interested in and passionate about. It was just really inspiring to me. So, that's someone that stuck with me and obviously stuck with you guys too because you use his gear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So his gear is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, mate, you press all the buttons. You get the wrong one every now and then. Yeah. Going back to the marketing side of things, I love the way that you're kind of pairing the emotional but rational side of things as well. So you've got the rational side in and around the pricing, but then the emotional piece. I get the sense that you don't like the fact that it's made overseas, but actually you're still over the moon with the product and what it's doing and how it's working and what it's enabling you to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, It's not that I don't like that it's made overseas, because I think, people are people and we're born where we're born, right? So I'm born here in Australia. If I were born overseas, it'd be a different story, right? So it doesn't really matter where you are, where you're getting. I like the fact that globalization exists, but I also like the fact that we're very lucky in this country for a lot of reasons. And I think, again, to be able to have a sustainable economy, and obviously, a lot of people like our current situation with COVID, job keeper, job seeker, that comes from taxes. And if you're not creating an economy, then these sorts of support mechanisms, Medicare, good road, questionable roads, but just the infrastructure that we've got. I mean, it could be better. We could go down a rabbit hole on that, but healthcare system's pretty good when you compare it to other parts of the world, like the US, where if you don't have private healthcare, you're basically screwed. So there's a lot that we can be grateful for, and as I said, that comes from taxes. So the patriotic side of me understands the economics of having a sustainable economy and having exports to be able to support that tax revenue and to be more sustainable. But as I said, I'm grateful to the people overseas, the factory that helped me make this product and will continue to help me make this product moving into the future, because I've got another series that are planned, mechanical series, leaf green 911, and a 2000 GT bonnet, which has been stripped down to the bare metal, and I'm actually going to. It's sort of oxidizing at the moment, and I like that.
Yeah,
so I'm going to clear coat that.
Yeah,
and then there's going to be an oxidized, clear coat, rusty kind of 2000 GT. So James Bond with a bit of age thrown into the mix.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
So how are you coming across these cars? Are you just seeing what's in the rec yard, and then
I just keep again being a car guy, and the internet globalization. Thank God for globalization.
Yeah,
because
just watch someone on YouTube. You've just smashed yours. Give them a call. Hello, Sam. Can I get your bonnet?
First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, that's it.
Good.
Yeah.
Now that we got that out of the way, your Crash Diablo.
Yeah.
Can I take your door?
Sorry, who is this?
It's David. It's David. Hey, you know
Come
me.
on, mate.
You know, So yes, how do you work out what part to go for, or what brand, or what?
The
car?
flatter the panel, the better. Iconic cars for me. So like poster cars. So leaf green 911, iconic shape, beautiful color. And I'm currently exploring different sort of color combos, but the loose concept that I've got at the moment is leaf green dial with copper casing, and maybe, some sort of beige or brown strap.
Oh,
so it'd be very...
that's hot.
You good?
Yeah.
Do you want some time on
I
your
didn't
own?
realise how close I was to the microphone.
Would you ever go custom made? So if I went, hey, mate, my first car was a Peugeot 306 and I managed to ride it off, but I've still got a few parts.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep. Give me a panel and I'll make it into a watch for you.
There might not be too many flat ones left, but that's good to know you can do bespoke stuff.
Yeah.
How about motorbikes? You thought about motorbikes?
Anything, really.
Ooh. Planes?
Planes, yeah, could do planes.
Wow.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Attached to any
Oh,
fridges?
come on, mate. That one went above your head.
Sky.
You said planes, and I said sky's the limit. Come on.
And then above your head. Far out.
You're sleeping on the job, mate. Is it the heat? Is it the heat?
I feel like I'm marinating in my t-shirt right now.
Yeah, I'm loving that you guys wore white. Good one.
Yeah. Anyway,
some sweat patches.
We're good.
Gonna get a nice show over here.
It's actually that's sort of a kudos to you, because it's your interview skills. You're making me sweat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's definitely me, not the 40-degree temperature in this room.
So out of interest, I'm just thinking a little bit more. I'll go back to the process side of things. Did you apply for any like R&D grants and things when you were going overseas?
No, I didn't.
Did you know that you could do?
But there's a lot of like clauses and provisos. You had to have a lot of you had to employ a certain number of people, and there's all these different sort of, and the grant could take X amount of time, and there were just too many and there's no guarantee. So I just thought, you know what, like, stupid for some people, because they're like, the amount of money you spend on your business, you could have had a deposit for an apartment. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you got to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah, that's it.
I am taking that Risk it for the biscuit.
You've never heard that?
No.
Yeah.
I must admit, it is pretty cool to be able to say, or it must be pretty cool to be able to say that I've got my own watch company.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do it for the clout. I just did it for my, I like, again, I just come up with these ideas, and as corny as it sounds, cliche as it sounds, you've only got one shot in life. So it's like, if I have the opportunity to do something, whether it's thrashing a car on a racetrack at 280 k's down the straight, yeah, sure, there's a risk that the brakes will fail, or you'll miss the turn or something.
YOLO.
So, or starting a watch brand with savings that you could have put towards an apartment. I mean, I got the rest of my life to pay off a mortgage. So
exactly. To trap yourself in that.
Exactly. So, I'll strap myself into a watch instead.
Nice. Love it. So you mentioned that you are doing the wallet piece and you do the time piece.
Yeah.
How do you plan on growing the business from there?
Look, I mean, that's a really interesting question, and I suppose a lot of my fate lies in the hands of customers. So that's always the case with any business, right?
Yeah.
So you can do the right thing by customers, you can have the best product, the best idea in your own mind, but ultimately it's up to the customers to decide, do I want to part with my hard-earned cash for this product to help this person grow because I share that belief, or I really value what they're doing? And if the answer is no, then that means that maybe my idea was pretty crazy after all, and everyone else was right. But if I start to grow and develop and whatever, then maybe, I was onto something and I wasn't so crazy. So, buy my stuff.
On that, did you do any market research? Did you kind of send messages around to your mates going, hey, I've got this idea. Would you spend $450 on a watch? Did you?
Let me flip the question to you.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to sell a car, like an older car, classic car, or even
a bin 306?
A bin 306. You can put something out there and people can go to you, yeah, that's awesome, I'll buy it. Yeah, so many people will be into that. But at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. You won't know until you actually do it. I did do a little bit of market research, but you listen to too many people. You ask too many people, you'll get a million different answers, and then you'll get confused. So I sort of made that cohort to a bunch of different people, but not too many people, and then took that feedback on board and then implemented it to what I thought. Some of it just totally disregarded. Some of it took on board in terms of different cues or maybe concepts. I was sort of creating different car models, because I was tossing up between different panels to buy. Look, I did take some of that feedback on board and some of it not so much. But again, if you listen to too much and too many people, you'll never do your own thing. And I think it's important to listen to your gut, your mind, and to do what you believe in, because that ultimately, people will, I think there's a few different examples in history. You've got Harry Potter, the person who created Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling. They told her your book's crap, basically. But her book obviously wasn't crap because so many people love it and it got turned into movies and stuff. So if she listened to those people who were like, experts, she would have never have created the book. And it's the same with, Disney. I think someone told him he couldn't draw. Yeah. Obviously he could.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you as well. I'm a big fan of you follow your vision. You're always going to get people to talk you down. We had some guys that own a bar in Crow's Nest that they opened up through COVID. They obviously didn't make the decision to buy it in COVID, but they opened it through COVID and everyone was saying why. And they're absolutely killing it and loving it.
Good. I like to hear that. They took the risk, they took the punt, and it's paying off for them. And, the one thing I never really understood was jealousy, right? Because when someone succeeds, instead of lifting people up, they put them down. Yeah. It's like, that comes from a place of insecurity, because it's like you had that opportunity too. And if you didn't, you probably could have gone out and sourced that opportunity with the willpower and the grind and the grit. But it's either fear or whatever it is holding you back from doing that. And then you're using that fear or anger or resentment to funnel it into jealousy, to hate on other people.
Wasted energy.
Wasted energy.
It's easier to knock someone down as well, though.
100%, especially if you, and then usually the people that try to knock you down, they've never done it themselves and they would never do it.
Yeah,
So it's easy to do that when you're standing on a pedestal.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
You know, walk a mile in my shoes and then come and talk to me.
Yeah.
And this is the piece with social media at the moment. And I know this theme keeps coming up a lot in our chats, but we spend so much time worrying about the likes and getting likes of people that we may not even know, rather than actually just looking after the people that are close to us and really valuing their opinion and elevating them, lifting them up and helping them on their journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, social media is one of those funny things, and I'm kind of lucky and grateful that I love it. And I think it's really important. It's done a lot of great things for society. It's linked people all over the world. There's so many great things for it. But then I grew up in a time without it. So I know what life was like without it.
You see the benefits.
Whereas you look at kids coming through now, and I'm probably going to sound like an old man here, but you look at kids now and everything they do is at risk of being on social media.
Yeah.
You can't do something silly without someone pulling out a phone and recording it. You can't say something without someone trolling you or critiquing what you're doing or what you're saying or the pose you're pulling or whatever it is. So, there's pros to cons and everything. But, it's an interesting time we're living in. And, you got to adapt and that's the key to life is adaptation. Yeah. I mean, that's what humans do, we just adapt.
Yeah,
100%.
From caves to apartments here.
Yeah,
absolutely. There you go. It's a very warm apartments today.
Yeah.
So go on.
Go on. No,
No.
Right, gentlemen.
I was just going to say, mate, I'm glad that the camera phones and shit weren't around when I was clubbing.
No, tell us about that.
No. That's another episode. That'll be a 3-part series, guys.
Yeah. You'll need to book a day off after that.
The hangover.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, as an entrepreneur, do you think you're better on execution or creativity? Or can you be good at both?
You need to do both.
Yeah.
I think, and if you can't do both, then you need a partner that can help you do the other part because an idea is nothing without execution. And people go, oh, that person stole my idea or that person, that was my idea. But if they put it in, was it the light bulb? Someone, I'm going to get the names wrong, so I'm not going to name them. Edison, but someone created it before Edison, I think.
Nikola Tesla.
That's right. So that was, but Edison got the credit for it.
Yeah.
But, everyone always forgets about good old Tesla.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. So the idea,
well, he's made a comeback. He's making cars now, I think. I wonder what sparked that idea.
Oh God,
mate, that was a musky pun.
Oh, love it. Elon Musk, no good. No, you're there. You're there.
I think I'm being outplayed today. I'm being outplayed in a big way.
All right, John.
So have you grown your team then? So you mentioned it was kind of me, myself, and I when you first started.
Yeah.
Have you now grown your team? You're a year in, or is it still just you?
I've grown it to me, myself, and I.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wow! So you have to wear 3 hats.
Yeah.
So is there plans to grow it?
Look, I'd love to be able to hire other people, but at the moment I see it working with other people, trying to help other people. So help me, help you kind of thing. So a good friend of mine, Chris Bolos, he's going to help me create these wallets. So we've gone 50-50 and he's going to help me to produce them. He's a trimmer.
Yeah.
And so he's a very talented trimmer. And he's going to help me produce these locally in Marrickville, Sydney. Shout out to Marrickville, Sydney.
Nice.
Grab a beer while you're there.
Exactly. So Inner West for all you hipster lads and ladettes.
Yeah. Nice.
So I see my growth as a opportunity to help others grow as well, do what they're doing, and to involve them in my business if I can, some way, some form, somehow, and to share the profits, to share. Obviously, there's a commercial aspect for that for him as well. So, and we're sort of looking at about the $80 mark, which I think is pretty fair considering
100%
genuine leather, genuine materials from iconic cars and made in Australia. So again, keeping it affordable for people who want to own a piece of that iconic car.
Yeah.
and that's not too dissimilar from going into like a department store and then going and buying a mass-produced wallet. This is handmade, hand-stitched here in Sydney by what I would say an artisan.
An artisan, yeah. I think it's a great idea.
So are you selling strictly online? Are you or are you in stores?
Online. But I have partnered with a jewelry store in Pitt Street, Aristocrat Jewelers. So they stock my watches. They're the only ones to actually physically stock watches at the moment. Collector Cars, who I launched with last year in November, are looking to stock them as well. And then, just looking to expand. Obviously, I think online is great because, again, you reach people all over the world.
Yep.
But people also want to watch, like touch and feel the watch and the product.
Totally.
And it's funny, actually, because I think building up that trust and that faith in a new brand like mine, people are actually, it sounds funny, but I get emails all the time. They're like, wow, I didn't expect the watch. I'm so amazed by the watch. Thank you so much. It's almost like they didn't expect the quality to be there, or they didn't expect to receive a watch that felt and looked as good as something that was triple the price. Slightly biased, but that's the proof in the pudding. And I mean, for me, that really humbles me. It makes me feel great because it's like what I'm doing is actually making people happy. And that's, again, as corny as it sounds, that's why I do what I do. And every time I get an email like that, I just can't stop smiling because it's like I've just made someone's day. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what's happening in their lives. And so, if you shouldn't take joy from buying products, but if I can help someone stay driven, or if I can help make someone's day through what I'm doing every day, then for me, that's mission accomplished. Even if I don't turn a profit, even if I go bankrupt next year, at least I can say I made, Sven in Germany happy, and, someone in Japan happy, and someone in the States happy, and someone in Australia happy. So I'm really lucky in that way, and I'm really grateful for those opportunities to be able to do that. So
that's a great ability to be able to share as well, that happiness piece. I must admit, when I did get one of those watches, the Aston Martin watch, first thing I did, turned it over, had a look at the back.
True mechanic.
Yeah, and I had a look. I was
Kick the tire.
I don't want this to sound bad or anything, but I was really surprised with the quality of it. It was really good, and I was really quite impressed with it as well. So credit to you there.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to that execution and creativity because I'm fascinated what sort of the transition, or can you wear, do you have to change hats when you start creating something, right, and then executing it? Because I'm sure when you're coming up with the design process, everything works in a design process, or when you're creating something, but when you actually have to physically execute it or make that part, there must be, you must have to it must be hard to sort of change lanes between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it came to the R&D process, there was a lot of trial and error, and thankfully a lot of that was sort of finessed by the experts in the factory because, as I said, I'm not a watchmaker. I came up with and that's where, again, I suppose you can't do everything yourself, and you have to recognize that. And that's where I think people don't give enough credit when they work in a commercial environment where, they're like, oh, I did this. But no, actually you didn't. If you look and you go back to the project, there are hundreds of people, tens of people in your team who actually helped you to be able to do that. Sure, you led it, whatever, kudos to you, but there's many hands that make that light work. Yeah. And so again, the factory did help me, and they were very receptive to feedback they would give them. In terms of testing, I was very lucky that when I had the prototype, the final prototype, I was just about to go on a trip overseas to Peru and Cuba. So very harsh environments in the sense that Peru, I was going through Machu Picchu and doing Rainbow Mountain and doing some really crazy altitudes, and, weather's like hot to really cold to
extreme climates.
Extreme climates. So it was a really good opportunity for me to put the watch through its paces, and knock on wood, it held up. It held up to the test. And then I went to Cuba, and it was incredibly humid. Like we get humidity here in Australia, but a Caribbean country, that's humidity. I would say worse. Yeah.
And especially on a day like today, I can't even relate to that.
Yeah, so it was pretty much today, but on steroids.
No thanks.
So no, but
So
beautiful
like Queensland.
Queensland with one shot of steroids.
Yeah, okay. Only a single cycle.
Only a single cycle, exactly. But yeah, so and it stood the test. So for me, I was like, yep, perfect. Signed it off, and off we went into production. 300 units, 150 split of each. And yeah, here we are. I've only got one Ferrari watch left.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, and then still got a fair few Aston Martins.
Why did you start with those two?
Because I think they're both iconic brands and they're very different in their own way. They appeal to different audiences, but they're also in style, they're very different. So one's very, I guess the Ferrari 348 is quite iconic in the sense that, you know, it's quite it's an iconic color. It's very vibrant. So it's more of a statement piece. A nice dress watch, you know, but still stylish. Whereas the Aston Martin is all black and quite subtle and understated in some ways, much like James Bond. So James Bond was in the back of my head. If James Bond was going to wear a watch, and he was, you know, it was Fuoriserie, what would James Bond wear? And that's basically this.
Nice.
So many people will probably shit on it. Sorry, can I say shit?
Yeah, that's fine. I swore before. I'm a mechanic, so mate, I swore all the
so
time.
yeah, many people will probably say, no, there's no way James Bond will wear that. But in my head, James Bond was going to wear that.
It's your
Did
head.
you hear that? James Bond was going to wear that.
No one can take that away. It's in your head. And who were you picturing wearing your Ferrari one?
Look, I've got to. There's too many people.
Big J from Lifestyle Pirates, I reckon.
There's one left, mate. You can get there.
I did notice that. Yeah. And so I think that's really important when you start to then put these brands together, especially with the cars. You've got to have the idea of who's going to wear it.
Yeah.
So with your next two, who you're using there, like if the phone rings now and someone wants to buy a watch, who is it?
Okay. So the Porsche
Yeah.
be James Dean.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. James Dean. And then the Toyota 2000 GT. Oh man, that's tough.
I think that'll surprise you.
Yeah.
It's like such an iconic car,
It
and an
is.
iconic car for the wrong reasons originally as well. So I think that'll be a big mover.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Japanese juggernaut,
Yeah.
you know.
Ooh, double J's. I love it.
So going back to I like your question about the execution as well, by the way, but going back to your friendship group and your family group, did you have another group of people that were perhaps above you that have done the startup thing, that have set their own business up, that you could engage with, hang out with, vent, get feedback, criticism, get ideas, you know, rather than going to your friends that perhaps haven't been on the journey? Did you have a community or a network that you could reach out to and go, hey, look, has anyone done this before? I'm kind of coming unstuck here.
No, not really. I mean, I only have one friend who sort of went out on her own and started a business. She started an online print business. Her name's Janet. It's called Print and Proper.
Okay.
So shout out.
Nice.
She was pretty good in helping me develop the web side of stuff, the e-commerce side of stuff, because that was sort of new to me, and there's a lot of, you know, coding involved, even though it's a Shopify store at its core.
Yep.
There's a lot of coding and trying to get those things to work, to talk to each other, and she was very, very helpful in that aspect, because she came from that e-commerce background and was able to sort of mentor me in a way.
Yep.
So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah. So, but apart from her, it was pretty much just me talking to myself in the shower and going, have I lost my mind? You know, and because you have to make decisions and that's ultimately life. But when you're playing with your life savings, it's a hard thing to part with because it's like, am I making the wrong decision here? And you kind of mull on every single point. And I guess that's why maybe it also took me 2 years to develop it, because I wanted everything to be perfect. And, you know, I think having traveled to Japan, this is going on a bit of a tangent, but perfection is in the imperfection. It's called wabi sabi. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but basically,
I love it.
Yeah. And so what I came to terms with was that it might be perfect to me, but it might be imperfect to other people. People might see ways to improve it, and that's great. And then maybe if they tell me, hey, have you ever thought about this? Then that's another way for me to improve it. But at that point in time, that was the best decision I could have made. And I stick with that all the time, because people often look back and they go, oh, if I did this or if I did that, I'd be here now. But you don't know. It's the butterfly effect. So everything was at that time the perfect thing for me.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I could do.
But
And then there was no, to answer your question, I know I went on a million tangents.
That's fine.
That's great.
But yeah, I was lucky that even though I didn't have a good business entrepreneurial mentorship network, I had really passionate and loving people who I made sure that the people I was asking advice from and the people I was getting guidance from were people who genuinely wanted to see me succeed. So my family, my close friends, they genuinely were like, Dave, 100% support you. And they would give me constructive feedback, because a true friend gives you constructive feedback. Yeah. They don't just,
Correct.
Suck up to you and be like, nah, this is awesome. And then wait for you to drive straight into a wall. They tell you you're headed for a wall. So yeah.
I think that's good things, and nothing. You can't start something off that's perfect. You've got to make mistakes. Something's got to evolve and grow. Like when we did the first podcast, was it perfect? No. Was it a great conversation? Absolutely. But we've certainly grown and evolved, and we listen back and we go, oh, okay, perhaps we'll go down that angle next time, or we'll try something else. But if everything started off perfect, it wouldn't be fun. Like no one would learn anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right. It wouldn't be fun.
No. But when you sit back and go, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, or hang on a minute, that strap might not work, or that factory, okay, well that was a ghost factory, and that's a term I've not heard before. But that's how you learn, and then that's how you then pass that down and pass on that knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's part of the game.
So I've got to ask, what have you learnt about yourself in this journey?
I think it sort of reiterated resilience. I'm quite a resilient person, but I think these moments where you've got your peaks and your troughs, and it reiterates resilience and tenacity. And I think they're the two key ingredients in life, and in particular in business, because resilience and tenacity is to see you might be in the mud of it and the thick of it, and you might be like, this is hell and there's no way out of it. Or what have I done? I've got a half-baked product. I've got 3 horrible prototypes that I wouldn't even let a dog wear. What have I done? Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's that resilience to go, nah, okay, that's another hurdle. What's the solution? So consistently trying to find solutions for problems. And I think that's something that I took away from this, but in particular, I think can be applied to life in general. People like to give up, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a business, whether it be a friendship. And sometimes, maybe that's the right answer, because sometimes there is maybe no solution to that particular situation. But I think there's always a solution. And sometimes if that is finding another avenue or finding another person or finding another factory to produce it in a business sense, then that's the solution. So there's always a solution for a problem. Yeah. It's just sometimes people can't see that because they need to be able to, and that's what I learned about myself, is that every time there's a hurdle, there's another solution.
Yeah, so what I hear from there is I wanted to ask what is a mistake that you wish you didn't make, but it sounds like all of the mistakes that you have made or you may have made, you've taken a lesson out of them. So all of the mistakes...
Yeah, I don't. It sounds funny, and there's a lot of people who probably disagree with me. But even though I've made mistakes and I go, "Wow, that was stupid," in my life, I don't regret any of them because I've taken away something from every single situation. And I know it sounds funny, but it is what it is. And even if I wanted to go back and change something, I can't. So. Yeah, I'm at peace with that, and I think that I look at it altruistically in the sense that I've come away with it with a lesson, and it might have been an expensive lesson in some cases we've all made, but
we've all done those.
But it is what it is, and so no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Exactly.
Well, this one rang me a few months ago and said, cars have got small rear view mirrors and big windscreens because you should always be looking forward, not backwards.
Ah, that's deep.
Was
That's
deep.
deep.
Was deep.
I like that. I feel like that should be a tattoo that you should get.
Maybe next time, man.
The next episode?
Yeah, 100%. So you make it to 1,000 episodes, I will get that tattoo.
Hey. The audience can hold you to that.
Yeah, that's recorded.
That's
Or
recorded.
you're going to
man.
edit that out.
Yeah, 100%.
No.
Who's doing the editing?
Yeah, speaking about the execution and the thoughts, he does most of the execution on this. So with your wallets, have you got then another product line that you're thinking of as well?
Not at the moment, but welcoming ideas.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Yeah.
David?
Can I ask my question first?
Yeah, if you must.
Thank you.
Go.
So we have a question that I will always wrap this up with. You go out for dinner for 4 people.
Yeah.
Who's the 3 people that you want at the table?
Ooh.
And they don't have to be alive.
Okay. Al Capone, Michael Jordan, and Michael Schumacher.
Whoa, what a table.
Do you want to expand on those choices?
I've got to ask Al Capone why.
Just because wow, he did so much dodgy stuff in his life, and the thing that got him undone was tax evasion.
Yeah, he would be an interesting character.
He was an interesting character. And, I think just the diversity. I mean, obviously 2 people are sports, but they're all big personalities, right? You look at any video footage or any sort of coverage of them, and they're all big personalities in their own rights, but in different ways. So I think to be an observer at a table like that, I mean.
What would you ask MJ?
I would just be like, how did you know that your branding would become so iconic? Did you ever think that because I mean, as I said, I like the entrepreneurial side of stuff. And I feel like people had always tried to commercialize products before from people, right? But he's the one that really turned it into a mainstay. You look at Jordan shoes, people go nuts for them.
Didn't Adidas say no to him as well?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And I know Adidas tried to do something with some LA Lakers players, and I think they did something with Shaq, but it never stuck as much as MJ's Jordans.
And Schumacher?
Schumacher, well, I mean, being a Ferraristi and also a big Formula One guy, I mean, for me, growing up, that was like, he was my icon.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow. I was just like, whenever I picture like driving and driving fast, that's the first person that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
So, and it's really sad what happened. And again, how, driving cars as fast as he did and some of the things that he did in his life, and then the situation that actually led to him in the situation where he is.
Same with Colin McRae.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Iconic rally driver and all the stuff. So, yeah.
So how do people get a hold of you? What's your handles? Where can they get your stuff?
So Fuoriserie Co. Google it. And then same with Instagram, Fuoriserie Co. and Facebook. Mm-hmm. YouTube as well, but don't really post that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hit me up. Just Google it. Lots of articles, lots of links. Just
awesome.
Find it. Google.
We'll put a link in the description as well, ladies and gents. Thank you very much, David, for coming on
Thank you for
Lifestyle
having me.
Pirates. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. Thanks, guys.